Okay, good evening, everyone who is either watching on Facebook or watching in the Zoom room. If you are watching on Zoom, we just ask that you keep yourself muted, keep your camera off, unless you are a panelist, in which case, then obviously we hope that you have your camera on. For those of you who are watching on Facebook, if you have questions as we go, feel free to put those in the comments. We'll try to get those answered as quickly as we can. Um, and you can also, I think there's a pinned comment on Facebook where you can send an email to of your question if you don't want it out floating on the internet for everybody to see. On that note, thank you all for tuning in to our first TP Talk in probably over a year now. Tonight, we're going to start a little series on running for local office. Tonight's going to be focused on school board and other local offices. And for those of you who I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, or we haven't met in a while, my name's Keaton Sunchild. I am the Federal Government and Political Relations Director for Western Native Voice, based out of Washington, D.C. I've been with the organization for almost 6 years now. Um, Super excited to have this conversation tonight because I think it's important when we have leaders from our own communities step up and take the important step of running for office and being a voice for your community. And this is a good place to start where there's not a lot of pressure being put on you right now in this space. Um, every election cycle, whether it's a midterm like we're coming up to this November, or a presidential cycle, or even an off year, um, we meet people, we hear from people who care deeply about their community and about their family, um, and they have a vision for the future they want to create, but they aren't sure if they're qualified to run for office, if they should run for office, how they even start, do they have to pay to run for office? How can Western Native Voice support them? So we're hoping to spend the next couple weeks, or spend some time over the next couple weeks, um, really answering those questions for you and getting you one step closer to feeling like you are comfortable and confident in your ability to run for office. Um, for tonight, we're hoping to have a decent conversation about what it really takes to run for local office. A lot of the folks joining us tonight have served multiple terms, or at least a term on their school board in their various community. Um, so we'll hear from them about some of the challenges that they faced, what it was like for them to go through the process. We have a decent mix of urban folks and people who are more rural reservation communities. So everybody should get a decent look of or a decent idea of what it looks like to run for office at every level. But before I turn it over to our three guests, uh, uh, just take a few minutes to acknowledge the work that Western Native Voice does to kind of clear up any misconceptions that people may have about the role we play in the whole civic engagement and civic process. Sometimes when people think or people hear that we are supporting a candidate, like endorsing them or um, encouraging someone to run for office, that means, we're going to throw lots of money behind them. We're going to knock on doors and encourage them to vote for this person, and we're going to host events, to get them in front of voters. And while we will do everything we can within our legal parameters, that's kind of not the case. And it's our belief that we shouldn't, even if we could do more and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and knock hundreds of thousands of doors. We strongly believe that our communities should be the ones who are electing their leaders. It shouldn't be an organization coming in and necessarily throwing their weight around and kind of telling someone how to vote. We want to encourage everyone to just be involved. Democracy works best when there's as many voices involved as possible. And so when more people turn out to vote and when more people are registered to vote, lots of times, the better story and the better candidate can win out. A lot of the work we do happens before election day, even before ballots are mailed out. We provide nonpartisan civic engagement, or sorry, nonpartisan civic education, which looks like helping people understand how government works from all the way at the city neighborhood council level, all the way up to here in Washington, D.C. We help register voters, share information about the voting process. For those of you who are on reservation communities, we'll talk about when like satellite voting offices are open. Um, we can help community members build confidence in using their voice to empower people to vote for maybe a candidate they feel strongly about. Um, because at the heart of what we do and the core of what we do as an organization is fostering those relationships between us and the communities we work in so that the communities can empower themselves. Um, so through our work, we just try to make sure people are informed and connected and willing to participate to in the whole process from start to finish. A lot of people think that, it's a sprint from October 3rd to November 5th or 6th, whenever ballots are due to be back in. But honestly, that work is year round. And even, if we look back, we just elected a new president in 2024, and a lot of people might check out until, maybe this November in a midterm election or until the next presidential election in 2028. There's so much work that goes on in those 4 years in between. And even after that, it rolls into things like redistricting, like we're seeing play out right now in states across the country where districts are being redrawn kind of mid-cycle. And so that work, or the work we do, kind of shines light to those things that are happening. Um, so for those of you who are considering a run for office, at the heart of what we believe and what we kind of strive is that you can't buy trust, and there's no shortcut to gaining that trust. People are going to vote for you because they trust you. They're going to gain that trust because they see you in the communities, at events. They see you putting in the effort. Maybe they don't agree with you on everything, but they see that you're putting in the work. And so that's honestly the biggest thing that we can offer is be visible, be seen. A lot of times we hear from voters that candidates that are running for federal office only come around every 2, 4, 6 years when it's time for them to get votes from the native communities. So you don't want to be that candidate. And for folks who are living on reservations, obviously that's a little bit easier for you guys, but still making sure that you're showing up at community events, making sure that you are making yourself open and available to what extent you're comfortable. Um, is going to be the biggest kind of thing that can get you elected. And organizations like ours are more than happy to provide resources and education, training, guidance. But the candidates themselves, they have to do the work of building those relationships. Um, and that's kind of why we started this up again, is so that people who are curious about leadership and about public service and whether or not that is something they want to explore. Um, we wanted them to have an opportunity to learn more about the process, to hear directly from people who have done it, and you know, try to paint a more clear picture of what it looks like from our side of things as Western Native Voice and from the candidate side of things. Our goal is not to just support candidates. Obviously, we want to support good candidates however we can within our parameters, but our goal is to kind of cultivate this bench of leaders in our communities all across the state who are excited to serve, ready to serve, and their communities are kind of energized by them putting their name on the ballot. So if you want and you're comfortable, if you're on Zoom or if you're on Facebook, feel free to drop your name in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. And for those of you who are just joining in on the Zoom front, few reminders to, unless you are one of our three panelists, try to keep your video off best you can, and stay on mute. If you have questions, you can put them in the Zoom chat. We are monitoring that. And if you have questions on the Facebook stream, you can put those in the comments as well, and we will get those answered at the end. There will be time saved at the end for questions, if you guys have them, as well as my email is pinned on the Facebook. If you have questions that you don't necessarily want answered publicly, or maybe you're a little bit shy about asking it, you can always email myself, and I will do my best to get that answer for you relatively quickly. With that, everybody's probably tired of me talking. I'm tired of me talking. We will introduce our three panelists. We will start with Michelle. Michelle, would you like to give us your name, tribal affiliation, the office you held, any offices you held prior to that, and where you're located, and a fun fact about yourself? Nope, you're on mute here. Let me unmute you.
All right.
There you go.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michelle Sangri. I'm from the Chippewa Cree tribe. I'm currently on the Rocky Boys School District Board of Trustees. I currently serve as the vice chair. We're located on the Rocky Boys Reservation in Montana. Fun fact about me. I actually like to hike.
There you go. I know a few hikers. We'll go with who's next on my screen? My mother.
My name is Marley Sunchild. I'm currelly in my second term on the Great Falls Public Schools Board of Trustees. I'm affiliated with the Chippewa Cree tribe. I taught 4 years at Box Elder Public Schools, 21 years with Great Falls Public Schools. I currently am a paralegal, and my fun fact is my son's the one running the Tipi Talk.
We will go over to Michael.
Ambush. My name is Michael Turcott from Wolf Point, Montana. Currently in my second term on the Wolf Point School District. Grew up in Wolf Point, taught at Fort Peck Community College for a good number of years, Native American Studies courses. Fun fact about me, I enjoy listening to jazz from the 1920s and 1930s.
There you go. That's a new one. Okay, so we will jump right in. We'll just go in that same order that we went in. First question, right off the top, and again, we just got a bunch of new people on the Facebook. If you have questions that maybe I haven't asked, feel free to put them in the comment section, and we can get those answered of the panelists, or if it's more for the organization, get that answered when we're done. But we'll start with you, Michelle. What kind of inspired you to run for office, or at least think about running for office?
So I started my school board journey about 7 years ago, and it just so happened that the school board election happened during COVID. And it was really strange because we couldn't really go out and campaign. A lot of social media reaching out. It was really different. But what really inspired me to run was I wanted just to advocate for the kids that didn't have somebody to advocate for them. So that's where it's always been, is just making sure the kids have a voice and we're listening, and making sure we're creating opportunities for them and to be successful.
Great. Yep, you got it.
I first probably would say when it's strange because he's the one running it. So when Keaton, my son, decided to run for office when he was 18, got us kind of involved in the whole political office scene. So that kind of got us fired up. And then I decided to change careers after 25 years of teaching, but I still wanted to be involved in education and felt that that was really the heart of the community. So how could I not be a teacher and still be involved in education and really help do what's best for teachers and students? So that was when I decided running for school trustee would be a way to do that.
I don't.
Um, After finishing college at the University of Montana and then moving back home, I think there was one place that I really wanted to work at, and that was Fort Pitt Community College. I saw the positive things that were happening there, the individuals that were working there, some real great role models at that time. It's been 20 some years since then, but yeah, like I said, individuals working hard for Indian country and then doing it in education. Was fortunate to work with Jim Shanley, Margaret Campbell. Heard a lot of stories of Mr. Jack Plumage, the work that he advocated for in education. Um, Also was privileged to work for Janine Pease. She was my supervisor for some time. And then, of course, my, probably my biggest role model was my mother. Watching her start at Fort Pitt Community College in the early 80s, mid 80s in that time frame. She started out working for her GED. I did that, went on and achieved her associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and then eventually her master's degree. I watched my mother work hard and then later on work in the field of education. Um, at the college there for about 25 years. So she was a real inspiration in terms of education. And so, like I said, that's where I wanted to work. I saw the good things that were happening there and then just understood the importance of education and how it can help our communities. And so that's why I chose to run for the school board.
I think that's kind of a great segue into the next question, and I'm going to let you keep going. Like, what impact do you think you've been able to make since serving, and was that kind of the impact you thought you'd have? Was it more of an impact or less, or kind of right about where you thought you'd be?
I think originally we want to go in and we have ideas of how to improve, but obviously it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. Again, on my second term, right now we have a really good superintendent who plans on being with us for a lengthy amount of time. And as you know, superintendents don't always last a long time, 1 year, 2 years, but he's been pretty consistent and has done a good job with our district. We appreciate that. And I think we're making some headway. I'm happy to be a part of that team that is improving our school district.
Great. Michelle, same question to you. Has it kind of been what you expected, or has it been a little bit different?
It wasn't what I expected when I first started, but luckily we have a really good superintendent who's also been there for a long time. So he's always able to help guide and kind of give us, this is legally what we can do, what we can't do, but also for we have local control so we can kind of guide and have those ideas and plans of how we want to improve our school or how we want to make change. And it does take time. And that's the one thing that I've had to learn is that there's a lot of processes and I've learned patience and it's slowly been coming to light all these different things that our school's doing. And, somebody asked me one day, what do you want to say what you've accomplished when you get off the school board? And now I'm able to actually say, we implemented this idea, we have elders in the classroom, we have our culture every day, we have pre-words here, those are the types of things I like to be able to share.
Great.
I'm really excited to be part of that growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, especially working with a lot of the elected officials out of Hill County specifically, there's been a lot of positive changes coming the last couple of years. So keep up the good work there. Marley, you want to wrap that question up for us?
My experience is probably a little bit different than the other two because we're a larger school district. But again, keeping on the same theme of superintendents, school boards, we have the best superintendent you could ask for. She's amazing. Plus the rest of our trustees. Everybody's really looks out for what's best for the students. In the beginning, it was a lot different than what I expected because it's not just an every other week meeting. Everybody's on 2 to 3 committees, often during the day. And other nighttime meetings, there's work sessions. It's a lot more work than the general public really thinks that you're doing in the volunteer position. And that took some getting used to. But I think my perspective of coming from a classroom teacher to the school board offers a different lens. And I think I'm able to offer a perspective that isn't there very often. I come from the teacher standpoint and the student standpoint because I've been there and lived that. So I can give that a little bit more. And it's a pretty respected position that I have. They really listen to that and they really use that to try to make things better. So that's really been a positive thing.
Yeah, quite quite a difference from going from a larger school district, talking about that, to some of the smaller, more rural ones. And kind of piggybacking off of that, what you mentioned that it's not just a meeting every other Monday or every other week. What all kind of goes into that specifically, for a larger school district like Great Falls? Like what goes into the role as itself?
We all are assigned at least 2 committees, sometimes 3. They range anything from health and safety schools. We have the core school here. That's the committee I'm on, the Great Falls Public Schools Foundation. I'm also on that committee, which is a whole nother board. We have our policy committee. We have our budget committee. We have our insurance committee, scholarship committee, superintendent evaluation committee. I'm sure I'm missing some. And everybody has to do at least 2. Some do 3, depends on your flexible work schedule. And if a lot of them meet during the day. We also have work sessions when we do things like data collection and our safe and secure schools. Those come with public work sessions. And so those are separate from regular school board meetings. They are not as formal and the public can come and really interact. We don't get a lot of public interaction, but we really invite them to come. We have a lot of town halls that have to do with budgets and levies and how we're going to fund our schools. We have a lot of opportunity for the public to participate. But during the school year, we probably have 3 to 4 meetings a week being in the day or at night, aside from our regular board meetings. Our work really is done in committee.
And for those, we'll go to Mike next. How does that kind of differ from, you guys, or if it even differs at all from a more, rural school district that doesn't necessarily serve as many students, but also probably has to serve some different needs than a school district like Great Falls?
It is a little bit different. We're a Class B size school, so we don't have to be, you know, maybe as involved as Marley, but nonetheless, we still volunteer quite a few hours. We're on different committees, as she said, and the good thing about our district is, we're a small community. Everybody knows everybody. At some point, we have to help each other, and we're all working for the same goal and the common goal of having successful children within our school. So that kind of sums that up.
Michelle?
Ours is a lot smaller too. We do have a few different committees, but it is not as, it's not too full time. We're still all actively involved, but we do meet once a month. And then we get a lot of updates throughout the month. So
So for those of you kind of watching and hearing those different answers, obviously we have people from all across the state and some other parts of the country watching. Obviously, depending on where you're at in the office, you want to run the commitment level. It can vary, from multiple meetings a week to maybe one meeting a week to a meeting every other week. So that is something you have to keep in mind when you're deciding whether or not to run for office. So, Michelle, I'm curious to know kind of what was the hardest part for you to decide you wanted to run? Was it something like the commitment? Was it the fear of the unknown, or not really knowing how to get started? Something completely different? Was there anything that was kind of hard for you to kind of get you to that yes, I'm gonna run point?
Kind of, not really. I'm more of a I always have to laugh because I was like, I'm such an introvert, and here I'm doing all these leadership positions, and so I think just getting out there was the hardest part for me. But now that I have the experience and kind of knowing how to process things, how things work, it's been a lot better.
Mike, what about you?
I don't think it was too difficult. I just think that it's more demanding than people realize. It's more than once a month meeting. We do have quite a few special meetings, especially now in the summertime when we are trying to fill teacher positions, coaching positions, and whatnot. So it's demanding. It's not just once a month, and it does take up time when you're trying to juggle work and family, plus school boards meetings, special meetings. It is time consuming.
Go ahead. Saw you take
Me.
yourself off mute. Yep.
My issue was similar to Michelle's, the whole introvert situation, because I'm very much an introvert. But it, I felt like I had something to offer, and so I have to work hard to find my voice and okay, how do I want to say this? What do I want to do? Know that what I have to say is important, and that was the hardest part, getting over the whole introvert situation. And I can do that in the meetings. And once I started figuring out that that's what I wanted to do and start running, it kind of falls into place, and your beliefs and what you think you have to offer kind of take over, and you find your voice a little bit. You just need to get started and get your feet wet, and it kind of takes care of itself.
Kind of jumping off or continuing on that thread. Um, and whoever wants to answer this first, feel free. How did you all come from various communities and have different support groups and various involvements in your family? How did all of those factors, how did your family, your community, your job, because obviously this is something that is very public facing, and so there can be times where employers are a little bit gun shy about having their employer or their employees take on such a forward facing role. But how did you guys kind of lean on that support system, or did they challenge you in any way? How did that influence your not only your decision to run, but your campaign, and then how does that kind of impact how you lead right now? Um, Whoever wants to go first, have at it.
I'll go first. Um, Obviously, my support system is different than the other people on this panel because my two kids are very politically involved, one more than the other. But so that makes it easy, and helping what we need to do to run a successful campaign, how you answer questions, what you need to do to face criticism, those kinds of things. That was just kind of built into our family, what we do and talk about. my employers are very, very supportive, but they're out in the community, and they like that I'm out there in the community doing good things for education. They support education, so of course they're going to support school board. It is something where you have to obviously talk to them about. I leave in the middle of the day for meetings, those sorts of things, but it was not a barrier, and they were very much support as well. So that made things easy, on both end, the work and the family end of it.
Michelle, Mike, anybody?
I'll,
You don't have to
I'll
answer that, but
go.
go for it.
I'll go. Support system wise, I had a relative who was on the school board for about 10 years, a little more than 10 years. And the first time I ran, I wasn't elected. And then the second time the position came open, I wasn't certain if I wanted to throw my name in the hat again, but he encouraged me. He said the first time he ran, he didn't get elected either. And he said, give it a try again. And then at home, my wife knows how busy I am. I go in a lot of directions, and she encouraged me to run again and put my name in the hat the second time and was elected. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been rewarding. Like I said earlier, it is time consuming. But overall, in the past, in the 2 terms that I've been on the board, our our board has agreed more times than disagreed, and so it says a lot about where we want to go. That we want what's best for our kids and our district. So, but again, that support system was those 2 individuals that I mentioned earlier, my uncle who was on the board, and then of course my wife.
So to follow up on that, did you see yourself as an elected official like ever, or was it just kind of something that, I guess a better way to say it would be like, was it something you knew you wanted to pursue, or it just kind of naturally kind of came about in terms of how you were raised and that support system you had around you kind of just naturally you know showed itself.
I think there was a time I knew that it was going to happen. Um, those individuals, those role models that I looked up to were getting older. Some of them were retiring and moving on from employment, their fields, whatever they were doing. One of my close relatives said, us older people have to step aside and let you younger people move in, and now it's your turn. And so it kind of got to that age where I knew it was going to happen. At some point, like I said, I wasn't certain that I was going to get elected, but at least take that chance of being in that position. And like I said, it's been rewarding. It's been good. We've agreed more than disagreed. And but again, it goes back to those individuals that help mentor us younger people.
Michelle, what about you? Did you kind of see yourself always being an elected official, or not so much?
In a way, I graduated from the University of Montana with a political science degree with a minor in Native American Studies. So it's always kind of been my interest is office, but I wasn't sure if that was the direction I'd ever go. I was when I finally decided to run for the school board, I did lose my first time. I didn't run again, and then I decided, okay, I think it's time now that I'm ready to advocate. With my former position, we were the Chippewa Cree Tribal TANF, and I worked for them, so we were always doing things out in the community. And then we transitioned to the 477 department, and I'm still doing all that work out in the community. And one of the areas that we really advocate and believe in too is education. So I felt it all ties together. So it's really helpful to have those opportunities created for our students and our kids in our community, and just being able to have the opportunity to give them all those different things, to show them that there's different things out there.
Marley?
I absolutely never saw myself running for political office. That one's Keaton's deal, not mine. I am not a politician in any way, shape, or form, and still do not consider myself a politician in any way, shape, or form, which just goes hand in hand with the whole premise of the Tipi Talk is that you don't have to consider yourself a politician to run for local office. I was a teacher who felt I had something to bring to my community and a perspective and wanted to be involved with education. That's my deal. It's not to be a politician.
Yes, we kind of touched on this earlier. Um, but what was the one thing that I guess surprised you the most what was the one thing that surprised you the most about the campaigning process, and then the one thing that surprised you the most after you guys got elected? We'll start with Michelle.
That surprised me the most that I really did win. But just getting to know the whole system, the way school boards are ran, and it wasn't anything kind of how I imagined. So learning all that, the processes, I guess, was the thing that was most surprising for me.
Mike.
The most surprising, I don't think there was anything too surprising. When I was working for the college, I did have some experience as the faculty rep on the board there, and so I had some experience. And then in terms of campaigning in the Class B community, you don't really campaign too much. It's not like a state position or a national position. Everybody knows everybody, but um, our local newspaper does a Q&A. We answer the questions and then wait and see if we get elected. So it wasn't too much of a challenge. But like I said, we agree more than we disagree, and that's been the reward for being on the school board.
Yep.
Go ahead. Yep. I saw you take yourself off mute, and I'm tired of deciding what to tell you.
I try to be ready. Well, I mean, I previously mentioned that the time commitment, that was a big shock. The other learning curve for me that is unique is I was seeing how things run from an administrative perspective. It's different than seeing it through the lens of a teacher. And like the superintendent, assistant superintendents, I mean, they were my bosses for over 20 years. And now I'm sitting on the other side of the table and I still struggle with that. I don't consider myself an equal to the superintendent in any way, shape, or form. She's above me, always will be. It's the teacher in me. So learning to kind of shift my thinking was really strange, and really seeing how things run from the upper admin district level. I still learn stuff every meeting, every time. It's such a learning curve. It's so different to be in the classroom, to be in administration. So that for me was the biggest hurdle, and still is.
Perfect. So one more question from me. So for those of you watching in the Zoom room, feel free to get your questions in the chat. We'll get those answered. We have a couple in there already. So happy to go over those once we get done here. Or for those of you on Facebook, put those in the comments there, and we'll get those answered here. But my last question that I have for you three is, um, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who isn't sure if they're qualified to run, if they should run, or if they're just on the fence in general? One piece of advice you would offer them, whether it's in running for school board or some other office of any kind. Mike, we'll start with you.
Advice that I would give that, as we know, our school districts have a lot of work ahead of them. We know our students in our communities on the reservations, they have some challenges that they face, and there's a lot of work to be done in those school districts on behalf of the students. But advice is that it's worth it and it's rewarding, and that we have to step in and fill those roles of those individuals that were trailblazers for us. And like I mentioned earlier, I heard stories of individuals that advocated throughout the 70s and 80s in education, and they really inspired me to move in that direction of education. So hopefully, our work that we do at the school board level inspires young people, that they see the work that we're doing, the positive direction that we're going, and that they pick it up somewhere down the road.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Michelle.
Mine would just be, if you have enough belief in it, then go for it. If you're ready to share your voice and share your beliefs and want the best for kids in our community, and
Harley.
Mine would be, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I truly am an introvert. And but if you're passionate enough about something and you're educated enough about it, and you feel like you have something to offer, you can get over that, the being the introvert and not wanting to talk in front of people. That'll go away, and you'll find your way.
Perfect. So that concludes my questions for everybody. Um, gonna, for those of you on Zoom, drop some resources for those of you who came on a little later. If you're interested in running for office, at different levels, there are some there. For those of you watching on Facebook, I'll put them on there in a little bit. I just don't want to muddle the sound up. We have one question I'll get to now. Give everybody a couple seconds here if you think of something that you want to ask, to put it in one of the two chats. The first question was kind of more about the organization, as far as how many people have we at Western Native Voice trained to do voter registration. And then the second part to that one was, can we tell what percentage of Indigenous Montanans have registered to vote for the 2026 election? Um, so the answer to the first part of that is, we have an online volunteer training portal on our website, and once you complete the training, we will give you the forms to kind of go out and register folks in your communities at different events that you're having, or that your community's having, or if you're having people over or whatever. However you want to do it, you'll have those forms kind of open to you through us, and then you can always pick up more from the county elections office as well, or print them off from the Secretary of State's website. Um, in the past, we've had like a dedicated field team, but we are not immune to the budget cuts that have kind of come from the top. And so we've kind of had to get a little bit creative, and have not had as strong of a field presence as we have in previous years. But our staff in Montana has done a fantastic job of getting out all year long at voter registration events, powwows, community events, basketball tournaments, basically any place where there's going to be a large population of voters, unregistered or registered. Our staff has done, I know there's 7 of us total, 6 of them in the state. Since I'm over here on the East Coast, the 6 of them have done a great job of getting folks registered to vote. We're almost at 300 new registrants this year. That was through June, so halfway through the year. on a midterm election. That's a pretty hefty lift that they've done already. And to answer the second part of that question, it's hard to tell because in Montana you don't have to identify as, you don't have to put down a demographic on your voter registration. So it potentially, we can go 10 years, in between getting a hard number of what the gap is between registered and unregistered eligible what native voters is, just kind of depending on the data that we're getting from the Census Bureau and how often they're talking to the Secretary of State in Helena, and then how often that info is disseminated out to the counties. Our best guess is we still have a gap of about 36 to 44%, excuse me, 30 to 36% unregistered voters. But again, that's not super. It's our best guess based on the latest data that we had from the 2020 census, mixed together with various voter data dumps that we've gotten from different election officials in the 4, 5, 6. Geez, it's 2026, and the 6 years since that census was done. Um, Next question we got is how do you maintain your culture while serving in these positions? I'll go ahead and let one of our three panelists answer that if you want. I'll repeat it one more time to give you a second here. But how do you maintain your culture while serving in your position? They're all so eager to answer.
I'll answer, and I don't know if this is answering the question, but our IFA program is one of the best in the state, and our Indian Ed for all of our classrooms participate willingly. We have teachers on special assignment who go in to help with our IFA program to teach the culture lessons. We have programs all the way K through 12. We have culture classes. We have buffalo hunts. We have, there's so many things that we do to help preserve the cultures from all different tribes. And our Indigenous department leader, Dugan, is one of the best there is in the state. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I also felt like it was a great shout out to give them because they're amazing.
Michelle or Mike, anything you wanna add to that?
Here, I'd like to add to that. So that's one of the things that we really focus on is in putting our culture in our schools because we believe that it gives the kids a more sense of who they are and where they belong and who they come from. So we have not only do we have our elders in the classrooms, we have a cultural specialist who's helping integrate different Cree lessons, Archipelago Cree lessons into regular curriculum. We have Cree in the school and everywhere in the schools. But the thing that I like the most is the elder presence. So we have a group of elders in the school at all times to help them, teach them things, and just, if they need something, they can go talk to them. So that's one of the things we're doing at Rockaway Schools.
Great. Mike, anything you wanna add?
I'd just like to add that, again, going back to our superintendent, um, he's done a good job of improving that area of Indian education for all in our school district. We still have a ways to go, but nonetheless, he's made it a priority to improve that situation for our schools. So um, that's uh, that's where we're going.
Great. Just looking to see. Doesn't look like we have any any other questions. I'll give everybody about 1 more minute to kind of get in any last minute questions. I will go around. Oops, we got one more. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Do you guys get paid for your positions. Specifically, I guess, yeah, three of you are all on different school boards. So yeah, are you guys paid?
I'll go first because that's easy. No, we are not paid.
Yes, it's a volunteer, elected volunteer position.
Mike, are you guys paid?
No, not at all.
So most of them, especially a lot of the school board offices around the state, or most of them are, yeah, like Michelle said, elected volunteer positions. Just doing it for the love of the game. So that is something obviously that you have to keep in mind when you're deciding, whether or not to run. Obviously, you don't want to run for a position that, doesn't pay, that might involve, you having to take a significant amount of time off of work. You don't want to put yourself behind. If you're okay with it, then that's a decision obviously you're comfortable with. Great. We don't want that to stop you, but I also think that a lot of people go into politics seeing how much money people specifically here in Washington are making, and that's not always the case, especially the local, more smaller folks. The second half to that question is how much impact do you feel your presence and voice has had in these positions, and how many of your ideas or change from your direct input have you seen come to fruition, and how did that make you feel? Um, Mike, you're still up on my screen, so do you want to answer that one?
I think um, each of our present for all of our trustees on our board, at some point we do provide some input, and I think it does make a difference in the direction that we're going. Um, Maybe, obviously we can't change everything in a matter of 2 terms or even 3 terms, but collectively, I believe that we are going in the right direction and that our voices are heard during our meetings and we have input and we're all provided that opportunity. And so I would say, yeah, our input is taken into consideration when we discuss matters.
Michelle, anything you want to add?
I would have to kind of agree with Mike. It's more of a collective team effort and not so much an individualized um, board. So it's more centered around the team making good decisions with each other.
You want to wrap us up there, big dog?
I forgot the question.
Um, it's in the Zoom chat if you lose it again, but how much impact do you feel your presence and voice has had in these positions, and how many of your ideas or change from your direct input have you seen come to fruition? How did that make you feel?
I do think I've had an impact. I think a lot because of the perspective I bring as the former teacher, as I've previously mentioned. They do look to me, the other board members plus the administration, they do look to me to like, how is this impacting teachers? What is this going to do to our individual classrooms? What's the direct impact to students? And they do listen to what I have to say, and they really haven't had that. Um, that in previous boards. So I do think that that's been a big thing, and they really take into consideration the impact of the teachers, which is what really is important to me, because if the teachers are taking care of, the students are taken care of. So I do think that that has made an impact, and I feel that my presence on the board has done good things for Great Falls Public Schools.
Perfect. Well, we are bumping up on our time here. Um, One last question at the buzzer. Everybody loves a good buzzer beater. With each generation, we are losing our culture. What are you doing personally to maintain a strong hold on your culture? Anybody, anybody want to answer that one before we go?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. I think for us, my wife and I, it starts in the home, and we make sure that our children have the opportunities to participate in different cultural functions, doings, and whatnot. And close-knit community. We always have, like I said, we have a lot of kids in our house, which means we have their friends, their relatives, their cousins in our house. So they always tag along with us when we participate in those doings, those functions and whatnot. But also, um, again, it starts at the home, and so that's the approach that my wife and I take. And my current employment is in the language field, and so um, employment wise, that's the direction that I work in and have an impact on younger people with the language. So
Any of your other two want to answer that one? No pressure to if you don't want to. Okay. All right. Well, it is 8 or 6:59. Pretty most people. And approaching my bedtime here out east. So thank you all for joining us. Special thanks to our three panelists and to everyone who hopped on Zoom or on Facebook. Um, there are in both parts or in both chats, there are three links to different guides to running for office. Um, if for some reason you can't get those links to open, feel free to reach back out to us if you'd like that info. You can do that through the pinned comment on Facebook, or you can go to our website, which is westernnativevoice.org, or send us a message on Facebook, which is just Western Native Voice. If you're not already following us there, please do so. And if you missed any part of tonight and you want to go back and watch, this will be up on our YouTube page in the next couple days for everybody to go back and watch. So thank you to you three, and thank you to everyone who joined. And we will be back in a couple weeks with our second installment. So be sure to check your emails to sign up for our next one. Thank you all.